Welcome to Operation Successful Transition. In this podcast, my guests and I will be talking about the 4 pillars of housing, work, benefits, and mental health to open doors for veterans and connect you with the people you need to meet. We deeply appreciate your service and sacrifice and hope to help make your transition back to civilian life smoother. Your success is important. You are important. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Operation Successful Transition. Today, I'm excited to have Corey Cazares here with us. Corey's an Army aviation combat vet. He served from 2000 till 2008 and spent 3 years of that time deployed between Bosnia, Iraq, and Afghanistan. When he got out of the military, he continued in aviation in the civilian sector for about 5 years until he found real estate. And he's going to tell us how that developed into having the company that he works right now. Givft is a company that he started. So, hi, Corey.
Hello, good to be here, Sherry. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so good to have you here. I'm so pleased and honored to run into you. Corey actually referred a client to me.
Yeah, if I would have known you were going to have the background game you had, I would have stepped it up a little bit. I felt insecure when I saw your flag there. I got a gray and white wall. I blurred it out for everybody.
Yeah, so tell us about what your company is and what inspired you to get that started.
Right now, my wife and I we're privileged, man. We get to do something that not only do we feel like we're experts in, but it's native to us, and it's actually been successful for us. So we're
That's
actually
awesome.
just making that available to the public. So my company is called Givft, and it's actually my wife's company because it was her concept. So I now work for my wife. Which you want to talk about transitioning from the military? You should transition to working for your spouse. But she's awesome. Her name is Amanda, and the company that she created called Givft now, it really just takes the concepts that we used in our real estate practice that allowed us to be successful, that allowed us to build a business that we could count on and actually sell a real estate practice, which I don't know if you've ever heard of the success rate of selling a real estate practice. It's very, very difficult. And we'll talk about why a little bit later. But essentially, we had a very core group of systems that we had in place that allowed us to take vacations and feel good about the fact that when we got back, business was going to be there, and feel good about the way we interacted with our clients. And so we really just kind of compiled all those into a system. What we found out is that it all revolved around just being human, keeping in touch with people. The problem that we ran into in real estate, well, I'll back up even earlier. Our real estate practice was 100% VA and veteran based. I got to Hawaii in the year 2000. I didn't leave Hawaii until 2020. In that time, I was in the military for about 7 of those years. And for the rest of that time, I was in the civilian sector. 10 of those years, I was practicing real estate. And for 7 of the 10 years in real estate, I had actually owned my own company. I broke off from the company I was with, started my own company, and it was called Military Home Source. And inside that company, we focused on allowing veterans to get into real estate in a way where there wasn't a lot of fear, there wasn't a lot of intimidation, there was a lot of education. My mentor was a guy named Tony Diaz, and Tony Diaz taught me in 2011 that I can use my VA home loan benefit, no money down, and even helped me get my credit into a place where it needed to be because I was in my 20s. I had a great paying job, 6-figure job, but didn't know anything about finances.
Yeah,
so I tried.
I think sorry to interrupt you there, but I think a lot of people don't understand about using that housing benefit.
Wild. It's wild.
We need to spend more time educating people because they could get
Yeah.
benefit out of having a home that way or building their wealth that way. So sorry.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point, and I think it really falls to the op-tempo pace of our country from 2000 to 2010. We weren't focused on our benefits. We were focused on deploying and getting our gear ready and being gone. I mean, we would get back from 13 months in Afghanistan, turn around in 9 months and go to Iraq for another 13 months. So it's just like, there wasn't any time to really focus on it in my acute spectrum of military life, right? I was only in for 8 years, but in that time, I never learned about it. It was 5 years later that I found out about my VA benefits. So there's just not a lot of time. There's not a lot of place in the military, especially in a deployed country in 2 active wars, for you to sit down and learn about your benefits. And that was my story. So when I found out I could do it, I had bought my home. And the way I got into real estate, I was in basically 2011, I was still working on helicopters, but we go in contracts, right? So you fix helicopters for 6 months and then you don't have work for 2 months and then they bring more in, you contract up again, right? So we got laid off 11 hours after I got keys to my very first house in Hawaii. I bought a home in Mililani for $365,000. They gave me keys and 11 hours later, I get the call that I'm laid off. What happened then is I went to unemployment like you're supposed to do. And I was sitting in line and I was like, look, nothing against anybody here. They all have their own stories, but I don't identify with somebody in the unemployment line. So I called Tony Diaz, who was the guy who did my loan and the guy who held the VA home loan seminars. I said, dude, put me in. Wherever I can be in, just put me in. I don't care if I'm knocking doors, whatever. You just transform my entire financial life in 6 months. I want to do the same. And he put me in. I talked to his wife, who owned a real estate company, and that is years later was the company that I ended up purchasing and turning into Military Home Source. So that's the backstory, right? With real estate. From then on, we focused very acutely on that one market. I didn't care about multi-million-dollar condos. I didn't care about foreign investors. I didn't care about beachfront property. What I wanted was to get people in their 20s into a situation where their 40s looked totally different because they bumped into me. I wanted to feel as important as Tony Diaz felt to me. I wanted to feel that way for younger veterans who are now trying to find a way to make their life better. So that's what we did. At the height of our company, we had 23 agents. Every single agent I ever hired was hired off of active duty. We helped them transition from being a soldier to being, or an airman or a sailor or a Coast Guard. We had active agents in every single branch of the military except for the Coast Guard. And so that was our goal. About 7 or so years later, I was able to successfully sell that real estate practice. And then what we did is we moved to San Antonio. And we wanted to kick it for a while. We wanted to work at a mountain bike shop and just be nobodies and disappear into the woods for a while. And I ended up linking up with Tony Diaz again. And so we started talking about how we can improve sales and how we can improve our agents' lives. And we really put together and focused really hard on systemizing what made us successful, which was being human, right? Because I didn't have to pretend to be successful. I didn't have to wear red bottoms with my clients. What you're seeing right here, this is what I sold real estate in because these were my people. So I didn't want to look like I was somebody famous or fancy, or I wanted to be who I was, and I wanted my clients to meet me there. And I wanted to meet them on the level they were on. So
somebody who gets down to business and takes care of you. That's what it's all about.
And they can relate to us because we're not some shine. No, I'm a chubby Mexican with no collegiate education. I got bad face hair. This is 6 months of growing here. I got nothing special to offer you other than the fact that somebody changed my life, gave me the knowledge that I can help change yours. And so the keys to our business was just being human, being realistic. And a lot of that fell down to communication. And what we realized is the clients that we didn't really communicate with, a year after close, we didn't have any talk. We didn't have any conversations with. We didn't know who they were. We didn't know what they were doing. They had kids. We didn't know about it. They would sell their real estate with other agents because we didn't keep in touch. We weren't human to those people.
Gotta love on them.
Yeah. So the way we were able to do it and be successful at it was Amanda, my wife, would comb through Facebook. And she would look for opportunities for me to reach out and talk to somebody, because there's plus column calls and there's minus column calls when you're talking about past clients. A minus column call is, hey, it's Corey. You know anybody who's buying or selling? It's cheesy. It's corny. You're not offering any value. A plus column call is Amanda finding out that their kid won their T-ball tournament. And calling up, hey, I saw little Billy won his T-ball tournament. That's amazing. I was actually there. My cousin was playing and I didn't know you were there. I'll make sure and hit you up next time at the field, see if you're there. How's everything going? How's the house? Da, 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 da. Okay, great. If you know anybody who's looking to buy or sell, please let them know we care and we'd love to help them out. But you give some value. There's something there other than a sales call, right? So you go, okay. My wife was spending 8-hour days combing Facebook because we had 300-400 past clients behind us, right? Finding ways for me to just communicate and be in the flow with my past clients. And what we ended up doing was just systemizing it, because if you try and extrapolate that out to larger agents who have thousands of clients, it's just not going to happen. And if there's no regimented process of keeping in touch with your past clients, you're never going to do it. So we decided to create a system where our clients would call us. And what that meant is we're sending them things that matter. We're not sending them recipes or calendars. No, we're sending hyper-personalized gifts to our clients. And so we systemize that. And now with Givft, any agent around the country can sign up for a service. They'll pick a different package for their clients based on what price point they're in. And then we send gifts to their clients from them on their behalf 7 times a year, which ends up to be about every 52 days or so, along with a couple handwritten cards per year. Now you say, well, you're doing it. It takes the altruism out of it. Well, as a successful real estate agent, you're focusing forward a lot. You're looking forward a lot. Looking back doesn't happen. So if you don't set something up, you're never going to talk to those people. So what Givft does is it gives you 7 opportunities in a year to have a conversation with those clients in an environment of gratitude, where you can have a clean, easy conversation. It's not awkward. You're not trying to figure out how to talk to them again. They're calling you to say thank you for something you sent to them. Givft is never known. Nobody ever sees us. The client never sees us. The gift comes from them. The cards are handwritten, comes from them. And it's just a way to keep clients and their real estate agents tied together. And what that does in effect is it keeps you top of mind, it keeps you relevant, and it puts you in queue for referral business or repeat business that a lot of times realtors miss out on.
Yeah, that solves a great problem because like you say, we're looking forward and we're handling what's in front of us right now, and we're doing our marketing and this, that, and the other. There are a certain percentage of the past clients, I'll just talk from my experience, that I run into them. I see them on Facebook, they're more, they're more in my realm. So there are others that are outliers. They maybe not on social media that I may have to look harder for reasons to call them and value to provide to them when I call. So I'm not just going, hey, remember me,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I think this is a great idea to kind of keep in touch. And
the wild thing is in 2022, the National Association of Realtors actually put out a statistic that 62% of all real estate transactions were done via referral. But only 11% of people doing a secondary transaction used the agent that they used to get to where they were. So 62% of business in referral, 11% of people using the same agent. What does that mean? It means people aren't using their same agent. They're getting referred elsewhere. So the question becomes, well, how do I keep that from happening? How does 60% of my business come from referral? How do I not lose 50% of it to somebody else? And it's just by staying in touch. But it gets lost because it's awkward when you want to call somebody later. It's really awkward. You're like, what do I talk to them about? So the easiest thing is, let's just create a situation where they're grateful to speak to me. They're happy. And I've actually given them something that's special to them. It's something with their name on it, a doormat with their address, a keychain with their address or grid coordinates, something about their family, something about their kids. It's something about them. There's no marketing, no business cards, no nothing, just a gift to them to spark a conversation. Because the reality is they are making the biggest transaction, the biggest purchase of their life with you.
That's true. Yeah.
You shouldn't disappear after that.
Right.
But after the transaction's done, they don't need you. You were between them and their home. They got their home. It's not their job to maintain the relationship. If they're not your best friend and they're not your buddy and they're not your family member, you're not going to movies, you're not going to baseball games with them, you're not going to the kids' recitals, you don't have a place in their life anymore. But it's not up to them to create that place. It's up to us as agents to create our new role in their life so that we don't become obsolete, because our value has been spent. And that's what the gift system is all about. It's just creating a new place in your life after the transaction is closed that says, hey, I'm not willing to abandon this relationship that we have. This is my maintenance.
Yeah, we want to keep that relationship alive, be a resource for anything that they need. I've got people calling me for the most obscure answers, and I've always I find something for them. I'm not going to leave anybody hanging.
Well, Sherry, you are the maypole, right? You're the real estate agent. You're the person who makes magic happen. Escrow is waiting on you. Title's waiting on you. Lenders are waiting on you. Contracts are waiting on you. The stagers, the photographers, the painters, the flooring guys, the yard people, all these people are waiting for Sherry to make the magic. You are the magician. The maypole of this industry is you, because you find the business. You do things like your podcast. You do things like making your website extremely accessible, making sure all your keywords are updated, because you have to create the magic. And everybody else, all these industries live off of that magic that Sherry creates. And hopefully our goal with Givft is to help you make more magic, help you make those deals just pop out of thin air. Yeah,
we're all connected. And that there's a story, a book, I forget what it is, but it was the 6 degrees of separation, right? Everybody's connected by 6 degrees. I think here in Bryan College Station, we're only three degrees of separation. Everybody's related and we all know each other. It's growing, it's getting bigger, but this is a great town, and every transaction helps so many families by using the painter, the flooring guy, the cleaners, the carpet cleaners, the lawn guy, the repairman, the handyman, the renovation companies, the roofers, everybody that's involved. And then with the transaction, you have the lender, you have their assistants, you have the title company and the attorneys who work there, and the receptionist out front. Each transaction involves more people than you could even imagine. So it
definitely does. And that's the cool thing. That's another reason why staying in the flow with your clients is important. You don't want to have them go to Angie's List. They know somebody who helped them with the most rigorous transaction of their life. And that person happens to know all the contractors that could be anywhere in the sphere of the relevance of their home. Sherry probably knows somebody. So we want to be that person. It's difficult to keep up with them. So that's what our goal is to do, is just to keep the real estate transaction human and to keep people afterwards connected.
Yeah. That's a great way to success, is finding a problem that people don't even realize they have and solving it. So that's what you've done for agents here. So I don't know, can you maybe, I looked at your website a little bit. I don't know if there's a good, easy way for us to kind of show them sort of
Yeah.
about what packages you have, or
Yeah. So right now, if anybody's interested, they can just go to givft.com, or they can just contact us through the website. It's a husband and a wife running this company. There's no magic behind the curtain. There is no Oz. We will reach back to you. The nature of our business is rudimentary enough that it allows us to communicate with our clients quite a bit.
Yeah.
We've had clients in our system for years that just continually just keep putting it in, and we just say thank you, and we see them on Facebook and stuff. But either way, we're also working on some courses on this stuff, on how to teach people like to stay in the flow, and how to teach people to stay human in their clients, because you can only be the best version of you. If I was trying to be Sherry, I'd be the second best or third best or fifth best version. And we just try and encourage people to be themselves. So if they do want to contact us and reach out to us, we love talking with agents, but the website is the best
follow up
place.
is a big, big deal. And I don't think, I mean, I'm guilty of not being as good at follow up as I should be.
Same. How many times has every realtor seen that when the listing that goes up and like, wait,
right,
I bought that. I helped them buy that house. I know that kitchen. And you look at it and you just trash everything just down to the boots. Just you feel your soul drop, and man,
it's
I
true.
can't blame anybody for that. That's final point. Jordan at the free throw hits the backboard and bounces off. Doesn't go in. It's him. It wasn't his team. That's him. That's the realtor. In all of us, Sherry. There's zero chance that a successful realtor hasn't had that happen, because with success, that's what makes it difficult. It's not hard when you have 3 clients. It's hard when you've got 300 and you're trying to be the same person to each one. Yeah.
And that's a little failure sort of that we can learn from. So we learn when we see a past client's house go up on the market, we learn, hey, wow,
don't forget that.
I need to get a lot right. I need to get a lot better about following up. And so everything piece of business I lose out on, I learn a little bit more about how to improve my system process and my speed.
And especially in a town like you described, where people know each other, everybody's got a cousin who's a real estate agent. What's the reason? You know what I mean? And in a seller's market, how expert do you need to be when everything's flying off the shelves? So it's being a human and being a good version of what you would want to experience if somebody was helping you through a very expensive transaction. It becomes so important. They learn a lot more about you after the close than they do during, because during the close, they need you and you need them. But after the close, when you don't need them anymore and you're still there, that's when you create fans.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you brought up an interesting point. How good do you really need to be in a market where things are just flying off the shelves? I still think it's important, to have experience, or to have somebody who's mentoring you and watching the contracts that you're sending out. I saw some unbelievable,
wild,
brand new people sending out stuff that it would be, just to have a bad effect on their client, so.
It's a weird industry, right? Like such a high paid. I mean, in Hawaii, when I was in real estate, we were making doctor money. We were making lawyer money.
More than,
But what's the bar to entry?
Right.
You go to a 4-week class and you take a test, and now you can help somebody sell $1 million property.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying. There's some wild stuff out there.
Yeah. Okay. So your site is Givft, right?
Yep. The idea was the domain wasn't available, and it's give and gift at the same time. It's altruism, giving back to your clients. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's a good workaround for that. SherryEccles.com is sold. There's another agent in Texas whose name is my name, and it's spelled exactly the same. She's up east of Dallas. So I'm having to work around that a little bit myself. So that's how the world of URLs go, and GoDaddy goes. But
I'll tell you this, they're becoming less and less important every day. Your URL handle becomes less important, because search is how they're finding you. So the way I found you was because your website is built excellent as far as looking for somebody who's in VA. It's very difficult to say I'm a VA realtor, I'm a military realtor, because it doesn't exist. But the way you had your website set up, your URL could be like rollerskatingelephants.com, and I'm still going to find you, because your website was very well designed. So congrats to you on that.
Thank you. I hired help with getting that done. Believe me, I'm not all that techie. I have good people around me. Speaking of adding jobs. Yeah. So we're going to put your contact information, your website and everything up at the end of the video for anybody who wants to get in and get started with this awesome system. I've looked at your products and they are amazing things. So realtors, pay attention. Look for this website. Yeah, exactly. Just take that off your take that off your to-do list and have it done.
Yeah.
So Corey, I'd like to visit a little bit about your transition. Maybe you have
Yeah.
had experiences that you've worked through that could help somebody else who's transitioning from the military into civilian life. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your transition story.
Yeah. If I were to boil it all down, it all boils down to the people you meet and the books that you read. So the people that you meet that change your ideas of what success looks like, or your possibilities, or encourage you, or make you feel like you're actually a little bit better than you were yesterday, or possible, or the things you want to do are possible. And then the books you read that help you elevate your mindset, help you think of things in different ways and in concepts. So everything that I say after this all boils down to those two things: the people I've met, and the books that we've read, right? So that being said, man, transitioning was always scared, always nervous, always. There's one thing I knew, is that I couldn't stay in the military, because the experiences that I had in Afghanistan, the experiences I had in Iraq, led me to a place where I was just, there wasn't a chance. So luckily that those traumatic things made the transition choice easier for me. The good thing about the military is a lot of times there's something on the outside that allows you to do your job in a different t-shirt and make more money, depending on what you do in the military. So a lot of those things are, I worked on helicopters in combat. I was a door gunner. And in, around the flagpole and garrison, I would repair helicopters. And then, of course, whenever you're out on a flight, you're with your bird in case something happens, right? Traveling mechanic, essentially.
Yeah.
So when I got out, I was able to walk across the flight line, put on a blue shirt, take off my green shirt, and was making 3 times as much doing a civilian sector.
Wow.
But, it wasn't the right lifestyle either, because you're traveling, you're getting sent all over the place. So I exchanged one set of problems for another. And it was really cool for a while, because my wife, Amanda, and I, we've been together since I was 19. So it was cool. You get sent to Spain, she comes with me. Go to Germany, she comes with me. Go to Honduras, she comes with me. Go to Thailand, she comes with me. But after a while, she's like, dude, this traveling stuff is getting kind of rough. I want to settle down. So when we bought our house and got laid off, again, a forceful transition for me. So I'd like to say that everything was done by myself, but thankfully, we've been very, very fortunate that every transition has worked, and it's always been a transition for the better. But it was never like, I'm going to do this and then hard charging into it. It was situations that were put in me. I made the best decision I could. But leaving the
when
military,
a door closes, a window opens.
Yeah, and that door shut hard behind me, and I ran out like this. It was chasing me, because I was, and that was where the nature of my trauma came from. Wasn't from the shooting, wasn't from seeing kids getting injured, wasn't from getting shot at. It wasn't from what we called TICs, troops in combat. It was from my experience being stop loss, because my ETS date was 2006. I was supposed to get out in 2006. I didn't get out until 2008. I was in University of Hawaii in class, and I got pulled out and got brought back in under the stop loss. So my trauma was, after years of therapy, I figured out was just a lack of control. And a lot of men feel this, right? I'm not even in control. I don't have faculty over my own physical self. I'm in college. That's what I wanted to be doing. I was going to school for economics. And instead, my physical body gets pulled back, put back in a plane. And not only do I go back in the military, but I go back to Iraq. So I had a lot of trouble processing all that. And it took years for me to realize it wasn't about the military, it wasn't about combat, it was about control, that I didn't have faculty over my own body. Somebody else did. So now in situations where I don't have complete control, like a traffic jam or like a big concert where everybody's rushing forward and I'm no longer in control of my own physical self, I have those responses, those fight or flight responses, and things start going weird, but I can identify them. So number one, if you're tripping out, go get some therapy. You're not that smart. You're also not that you're not that brave to not get therapy. Yeah. We're all a little bit of a dumbass, and somebody who went to school for 8 years helps us process the dumbass that we are individually and helps us put it on paper so we can recognize it and be able to tame that animal when it rears its head.
Yeah, so it gives you tools on how to, once you've recognized it, tools on how to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like everybody else, we all consider ourselves to be so unique. So when we're uniquely in negative, we isolate ourselves, and realistically, we're not that unique. And things that we're going through have paragraphs in textbooks that happen so often. And so it helps you just feel a little bit less weird. At least it did for me. So I transitioned from the military without choice. It had to happen, just because I couldn't do it anymore. And then went to civilian side, and then the traveling got a little bit old. So then when that got old, I found real estate. Like I told you, I knocked on my mentor's door and said, just put me in anywhere. And luckily, the property we had bought had given us some financial freedom, a little bit. I think we had like 40 grand in savings at the time. And it was just my wife and I, and our mortgage was affordable. So I was like, well, take a break and explore this real estate thing. And 2 weeks after I got my license, I had my first deal in escrow, and I didn't have a deal not in escrow for the next 11 years. So it was a successful transition into real estate. But the one thing I can encourage anybody is safety from one threat is exposure to another. So you get out of the military because you don't want to go to combat, and then they're sending you other places, which is a new threat. Then you get out of that threat because you don't want to be covered in oil your entire life and traveling the entire world, and you go into real estate, and then you realize, oh crap, I'm the only one bringing food to the table for my family. So the safety from the travel is exposure to the threat of just being broke, because how do you make this magic happen? Where do the clients come from? And when I went to my mentor the first time, I said, dude, I'm really nervous. Like, I have a deal in escrow, but that's going to close in a week. And then after that, I don't know what I'm going to do. What do you recommend for income? And their answer, still to this day, does not bring any safety. They said, you need to get a good credit card. And I was like, oh no, because I went from a paycheck every 2 weeks in the military to a paycheck every 2 weeks in civilian sector. I was making 6 figures building helicopters in Hawaii, to go to real estate where there is no safety. And that, to me, Sherry, is one of the biggest lessons I ever learned. And that is that the universe will reward you proportionately to the amount of risk you're willing to take. So you translate that to every 2 weeks paycheck. There was only so far I was going to go. You told me earlier you were in college and you worked your way up through Texas A&M, but that was as far as you were going to go. And safety has its limitations of success.
Yeah.
So
it was stable, but it wasn't fabulous.
There you go. You could see the ceiling. Where in real estate, you can't see the ceiling, but you also can't see the floor because you don't know where that next foot's going to land.
Yeah.
So it was this safety from one threat was exposure to another. And that new threat was, there's no guarantee of business, there's no guarantee of pay, and there's no guarantee I'm going to have a client tomorrow. But that risk proportionately rewards you with earnings that are above and beyond. There was no ceiling. Nobody could ever tell me what I was worth ever again. Nobody in my life will ever tell me what I'm worth ever again. Yeah. And once you start betting on yourself, you get more comfortable. You have a couple of things working. You're like, oh, maybe this can work. And once you start failing and you realize that failing isn't that bad either, then you start betting on it. And I think right now, the huge problem with our society is that we focus so much on success, and we hyper pump up success and making money and doing it quickly, so much to the point where we forget to talk about failures. And failures are the only way you're going to get anywhere in life is by failing. Because if you're not trying, then you won't fail. But you're going to have to fail certain times to fall forward.
If you don't have failures, you're not trying hard enough, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Failures are an opportunity to learn. Also, we talked about this a little bit earlier. It's when you're failing at something, that's showing you a weakness that you have and an opportunity for growth in there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's a good thing.
You got to be taking those risks. And that to me has been my siren song of just continuing in business for myself and transitioning from the military, transitioning to civilian sector, transitioning to real estate, and now transitioning to being in business for ourselves. Is just not being worried to fail, being vulnerable enough to the point where you can try things without being terrified of failing, but having confidence in yourself. And it takes those little victories to give you that confidence. Especially now I have a daughter, so I've got to, provide for her. But I'm not going back. I'm not going to work at a grocery store, and I don't have any collegiate education, and I'm not brilliant in anything. So this has to work, and I take that mentality with me to work every day.
Yeah, so that's mindset is at least 80%, if not 90% of any success or any failure as well. What you focus on expands, and if you're focusing on moving forward in success, then you're going to head in that direction. If you're focused on the past and the negative and the fear and the overwhelm, then that's what you're going to get stuck in. And there's something that keeps coming in while you're talking, while I'm talking. Like, another thing about it is, there's a book called The Gap and the Gain. And if you're in the gap, that means you're always looking toward the goal, and you're just saying, I didn't get there yet. If you're living in the gain, then you say, look where I've come from. I've achieved this much so far. So celebrating those wins helps build your momentum toward the goal. And another thing about working in goals is it's not all about the goal. You have to enjoy the process as well. So part of what I enjoy about real estate is kind of the challenge of, serving my clients better, getting more clients, getting more referrals, getting, good recommendations, blah, 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 just there are
Mhm.
lots of little challenges in there that are fun to me, and giving great service and seeing people happy. That's what it's all about for me. Right.
Yeah.
So enjoying that along the way to the big goal is super key. You can't just have this life of suck just to realize some goal at the end, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of delayed gratification if you're looking for success. It's hard for me too. Like we're looking at buying another property up by you. It's a duplex up there. And I'm like thinking, man, we have a lot of money going to business right now. Do I need to be spreading myself thin? And I'm like, why am I talking about real estate in the 5-year spectrum? That's not a 5-year conversation. Real estate's a 20-year conversation. And in 20 years, should I buy this property? 100% yes. So
Right.
it's something that even 10 properties later, we're still having the same battles. It's kind of funny how that works. But again, betting on ourselves, man. You got to bet on yourself. The life insurance people keep calling me, and no shame on life insurance people. They got a hard hustle for their game too. Like, Corey, why don't you have life insurance? You have these properties, you have these businesses, da, 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 da. Your family should be protected. And I said, look, I could pay you $200 a month and bet against myself, or I could put that $200 a month towards some investments and bet on myself. And if I
Right.
die, trust me, my wife's selling everything and moving to Mexico. I already know that. So she's good. She's set. And that's all I care about. But we continue to bet on ourselves. That's for sure. And we have as much proof in our pudding as anybody else. We're nothing special, but we do believe that our ideas are good. And we've had enough confidence in ourselves that after you find something that works, just extrapolate it. Don't let yourself get hyped up on it. Keep it raw, keep it simple, and make sure that your product's translatable to other people. And it'll find its audience. If it works, it'll find its audience. And ours, we have a 10-year track record of this working for us, and a 5-year track record of it working for other agents now. So we just stay the course.
Yeah. And that's another thing that it's about too. There are all sorts of different people in real estate. You can be an introvert, an extrovert. Door knocking may be really fun for some people, and some people may say, I'd rather stab my eyes out than do that. You find what works for you and how you relate to people the best, and your person, we call it your avatar, the person that you want to do business with, who rubs your fur the right way, that you deal with really well, and you can answer their questions and feel what they're feel what they're going through and anticipate their needs. Yeah.
You mentioned something earlier too that is dead on, and I commend you for understanding veterans to that light, and the fact that when we're transitioning out, I transitioned out in 2008, so it's been a little bit,
In a
right?
while.
Yeah, but what I see being in the flow with veterans all day is that as they're transitioning, they go from this place of brotherhood where, I've got friends, for instance, in San Diego, I was there 2 weeks ago, and I've got friends that I haven't seen in 5 years, and I've only talked to twice in that 5 years. But when we get together, there's no jockeying for position. There's no showing off. There's no braggadocious nature to our conversation. We know who each other is at our worst, when we're away from our families for 6 months, when we're getting shot at, when we're shooting back, when things are blowing up and the food sucks, and all you do is work and work out. We know who each other are on that level. And it's very, very difficult to get that type of relationship anywhere else. For better or for worse, that's our relationship. And we'll be friends to the day we die. And I'm not going to know every time his kid wins a softball game, or he, every time he gets an award at work. But I know that if I show up at his doorstep, I have everything taken care of, and he knows that about me. And you build those types of relationships only in the presence of the strife of combat and military life. Even outside of combat, that military bond is very, very strong. And when you get out, it's like something's missing. It's like dating a really, really hot girl, and then the girl you're dating next, you're like, oh, there's something missing. She's like, going to a 3 from a 10. Sorry for being a rude jerk, but it's still really. But that's these friendships that you make in the military, they're not the friends you would have chosen. They're the friends that were given to you by your unit, by the government, by people getting stationed together. But afterwards, you have these deep bonds.
Yeah.
And when you make relationships outside the military, you don't. At least I didn't feel that in a lot of my new relationships. And what ended up happening was I was making less friends, and I'm a social creature. But I found myself going, oh, this is different. This is different. It is different. And you're not going to have those situations. And thank God, because those relationships were forged in mire. They're just crappy situations that make you appreciate the presence of another human being simply for the copacetic nature of having somebody else suck with you. But the relationships are the most important factor when you get out. You have to get into some circles of people. You have to do something, whether it's join a softball league or find a couple of people who, like for me, I'm a musician. So I found some people that I could jam with, play some music,
Nice.
record music, just talk about music. That was our common denominator. You have to find some common denominator other than the suck you had in the military to be able to carry relationships forward, because man, you can get lost so quick searching for that type of friendship that you made in the military, and you may never do that again. But that just means you were never in such a shitty situation again, which can be praised. Like a little while ago, a couple of my military buddies, not ones I served with, but ones friends that I made in real estate, I'm hiring out of active duty. We climbed Mount Kilimanjaro together, which is the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. It's in Africa. It's as tall
Nice.
as Everest, but
Yeah.
it's its own little thing,
Wow.
right? And so we climbed Mount Everest, and it's 8 days of walking together. And if I took 3 steps back, you can see that I'm in no shape to be climbing any mountains, but we did, and we made it, and we did it together. And that trip changed our lives. That trip put us on that combat buddy level to the point where, like, if anything happens in the world, I have now, instead of 3 people from 10 years ago I could go to, I now have 4 more people from 3 years ago that are on that level with me. So I don't suggest creating a shitty situation, but I say that only to mirror the fact that those relationships were forged when we were at our worst. I saw a grown man cry. I made fun of him, and then I started crying because it sucked. But those relationships are there and they're strong. So for people who are transitioning out, you've got to find that group. You've got to find somebody that you have some common denominator with and make those relationships. Don't wait for them. Be the person that makes, because it's important for that other person too. So those relationships, those circle of people, it's just so important for you inside, but also, like we talked about before, the people you meet and the books you read. If you're not meeting anybody, the opportunities you're going to get are going to be this big. Right? The opportunity to buy this duplex was somebody I met at a little business meet and greet. We can't wait to get out of there. But I met somebody and I talked about our needs and our goals and what our real estate investment portfolio looks like. And they called me on Monday about buying this duplex, and it's Friday tomorrow, and we're going to be putting in a contract together. So the people you meet are empirically important. And I think a lot of veterans look for relationships like the ones we had. They're just not there, dude. It's a different world. But
Yeah,
don't
it's true.
stop making friends.
I've run into, in the course of this podcast, people who have made their life's mission after military, creating a space for those relationships to continue. One is Fob Razor. That's more of a kind of support group, but it's also the camaraderie. And Gunny will drive in the middle of the night to go get somebody who's thinking about, the final decision, right?
2 weeks ago, that happened here in this office. Marines are especially good at that. You got to give it up for Marines for taking care of each other.
Yeah, he's got an amazing thing here, and he's north of Conroe. He's in Willis, Texas. And then Amelia Templeton is in the greater Houston area, and her deal is artists in arms. So there are a lot of veterans who have a creative vein, whether it's working with wood in their trade or painting or whatever it is. She's getting that, they do kind of pop-up things where people get together and do a project. We talked about maybe doing like chalk art, find a big park with sidewalks and do chalk art, or do little like, can't think of the word, but it's
community events in general.
Where you go present your art, or, showing up at a restaurant that'll serve crawfish and everybody gets together and, whatever it is, but just that group to keep the camaraderie going. And they've turned it into their life's mission after the military. So that's another option that you can go into. I think part of the problem might be like when I went to college, the high school aptitude test said you can do whatever you want. I'm like, that is zero help, So there's so many choices of things to do. So you just have to find what your passion is and what problem the world might have that you think you could solve and enjoy doing.
Yeah. And before any of that, before taking care of the world's problems, make sure your family's taken care of. Call Sherry, talk to her about your VA home loan benefit. Talk to her about finding some real estate, because I'll tell you 2 things that people don't like talking about that I don't mind talking about, because I am that person. So I'm not talking about anybody else. I'm talking about me. When we talk about PTSD and we talk about disabilities, and I'm 100% disabled combat veteran, and I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Now, am I cheating the system? No. I went through the steps the way the VA said, the way the VA did it, and they assigned me my rating. Do I feel bad? No. And here's why. People want to talk about how disability is going to, you have PTSD, it's going to mess your life up. You got to go to therapy, this, that, and the other. but they don't want to
Yeah.
put a price tag on it because somehow it seems cheap. Okay, in my experience, I was being shot at. I shot back. I've taken lives. People have tried to take mine. I've seen kids with their, feet missing and all this other stuff from combat, flying, emergency medevac missions. All of this stuff we've seen. That's not what messes me up inside. My thing is lack of control. I was able to make sense of all the stuff I saw. But when you come back and you talk about those events and you try and be honest about them, when the VA gave me my rating, a lot of my mental problems went away. Not all of them, but a lot of my stress, my anxiety, my desire to be worth something, a lot of that subsided. And people don't want to talk about this because they're like, oh, you got paid, now you're okay. No, stupid. I had anxiety about life that was amplified by PTSD underneath it. When I removed that anxiety about taking care of the rudimentary things for my family, i.e. I used my VA home loan, I put a roof over my family's head that we own, that we would one day pay off, that's earning equity that I can access to take care of other things in my life. And the government gave me a parachute so that I could take a few risks in my life and move my family forward because I have some disability money coming in. Those things reduced my anxiety. And my anxiety rests comfortably on a bed of PTSD. But when that all came down, my quality of life, it was improved. Now, why do I bring all that up? Because we're on a podcast talking about veterans transitioning from the military. If you haven't gone and seen somebody about getting your disability rating, you're not getting it from some other veteran. When they give you your rating, you're not taking it from another veteran. Your rating is there for you. Don't cheat the system. Don't go say some crazy shit that didn't happen. Be honest, receive your honest rating, and it will bring your anxiety levels down. The other thing I say it for is because somebody like Sherry can help you put your family in a better situation, which reduces your anxiety, which makes you feel like you're providing for your family. So there are these financial components to PTSD that people don't like to connect the dots on because they feel like they're cheapening it somehow. But I'm a veteran with PTSD, with 3 years of combat, and the financial assistance that the military gave me through my compensating rating or disability rating and compensation helped. It helped me. So if you're afraid and you're not going, you don't feel worthy to go do it, well, then understand that's your own choice. It's not your choice what rating you get, but it's your choice to go and get seen. So I recommend every veteran who has any experience in the military to go see your VA, let them take care of you or at least tell you what's there. And then talk to Sherry about finding a place for your family to invest some money in and buy your real estate so that you have something in the background working for you. It helps you feel better, helps you sleep better at night, it helps you feel like you're taking care of your family, and all of that improves your quality of life. So those financial components are important.
Absolutely. It gives you, aside from the financial, just that feeling of stability and safety and security to have your own space. You have your home base, right? And then you are more able to go out and take those risks to advance, in your career or in other aspects, right? Having that home base and home security is really, really important.
Yeah, and if you're taking risks and your family's not taken care of, then you're taking the wrong risks.
That's a lot more stress. You have to have some things taken care of in order to, it's not really balanced, but it's just kind of steps of evolution, I guess. I'm not sure.
What's funny is those new difficult things like Kilimanjaro, like doing difficult physical tasks, those help me come to terms with a lot of the PTSD too. If I don't exercise for 2 or 3 days in a row, I'm in a totally different mental place. I'm completely different. So that's another part of it too, is that regimented doing things that are difficult, incremental progress to a difficult goal. Right now, a big thing that's really popular and I fell in love with is jujitsu and boxing. Those two things, you're very slowly getting better at something, but seeing that progress allows you to keep pushing. If you're doing something you don't feel any progress at, it gets really old, really, really fast. But yeah, I think the financial things that are skipped over are very, very important. And I think people should take care of those to take care of their mental game as well.
And bringing up the exercise is something too. I think a lot of veterans deal with substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, that kind of thing, to numb these feelings. When doing exercise and other things might be more effective at dealing with the problems, because once the effect of the alcohol, the drugs wears off, it's going to come back, right? With this exercise, you release those endorphins and those good feeling hormones in your body that improve your mental health.
Yeah, and I'm no doctor. I don't know anything about it, and all I do is listen to Joe Rogan and do exactly what he tells me. But
he's amazing.
No, I'm just kidding. But I do. I enjoy that podcast. But at the same time, everybody I think has a certain amount of energy in them, and if you don't have an outlet for that energy, it still vibrates. It just makes me anxious personally. I don't know about anybody else, but for me personally, if I don't let that out, it's just energy inside that I don't have pointed in the right direction. It helps me clear my mind, and it's even as an overweight dude, I mean, I'm sitting here talking to you at 230 pounds and I'm 5'8". I tell people I'm 5'8", but I weigh 6'2". And it's one of those things you still got to do it. You still got to truck, especially for veterans, because that's a lot of times we grew up in the military. For me personally, I grew up in the military. I joined when I was 18. I got out, 8 years later, but that's when I grew up. I didn't grow up in high school. I grew up in the military. So when I was forming those things that made me human, exercise was the central component of that. And so that sticks with you, man. And afterwards, if you don't have that, there's a large piece of your body that's going, what the heck's going on? So trying to maintain some of the similarities between life helps out a lot.
Exercise is a good practice. I listen to the Huberman podcast and Peter Attia and so many, and exercise is important for all of us for longevity and just good health all around. So
I agree completely. Yeah, that I think when you talk about the difficulty of transitioning, try and keep those things that you can keep similar. You don't have to go to the couch after you get out of the military. I certainly did. I did.
Tacos, yes.
Yeah, especially in Hawaii, man. Everything over there is everything
so
is heavy duty food. That food on the islands is crazy. And rice with everything. They serve rice at McDonald's. Rice comes with everything. You're just constantly eating carbs. But yeah, it doesn't help don't get out of the military in Hawaii. I'll tell you that. That'll help you stay in physical shape.
It's fun. Well, this has been so much fun. I hope someday you will come back and talk with us again, see how your business is going and what else new that you're into. I like to kind of ask towards the end, these interviews, I have two questions. One, what is the top piece of advice or tip that you would give to transitioning veterans?
Okay. What's your second question?
The second question is, what is the ask that you have? How can we help you with your business?
Awesome. So the first one, transitioning veterans, make sure you have a group of friends. Threefold answer. Make sure you have a group of friends, somebody that you can talk to, somebody that you're actually physically going and doing something with if at all possible. Don't wait for those friends to make the plans. Be the friend that makes the plans. Don't be a thermometer, be a thermostat. Go in there and change the climate of your friendships with these people. Create things to do. Go to the beach. If you're going to the store, just ask them to go with you. If you're simple little things, go play basketball, go to the gym, whatever you want to do. Create those opportunities. Make sure that you have friends around your community. Number two, your state that you're in is your responsibility. What you did in the military doesn't entitle you to crap. It doesn't mean you deserve anything. But there are tons of programs out there that offer a ton of crap, and it's on you to access those programs. If you're not connected with anybody, find your local DAV, find your local VA center. There are programs for every single thing you're going through. Thousands of other veterans are going through it, and millions of other veterans have been through it. So find out what your community offers for anything you might be feeling, whether it's feeling anxious about wanting to get a new job, there's vocational training. Whether it's wanting to go back to school, there's that option for you, the GI Bill. Whether you're dealing with some medical issues like I was when we got out, there's the VA disability program for that. Whether you're having thoughts of suicide, there's programs for that. There are things out there that were designed by veterans to help other veterans out. So your situation is your personal responsibility. You don't deserve anything, but you've earned quite a few of the services that are out there. You have to take advantage of them there. Nobody's going to come knock at your door. Don't wait for your friends, and don't wait for the VA. Be the person that creates your circle of friends and creates things to do, and go to the VA and get yourself whatever it is that you're ailing from or you're looking to improve in your life. And then number three, take care of your home. Make sure your home's in order. If you haven't used your VA home loan benefit, that was the single access point in my financial life. I bought my first house with no money down, and it was $400 more a month than I was paying in rent, and it was in mortgage. And I took that first risk on myself, and it worked out. We've now used our VA loan 7 times. We've bought 11 different properties, and it's not because I'm smart or I'm rich. I didn't start making more money. I didn't get an inheritance from my family. I got educated on what benefits are available to me. So leaning on point 2, get your VA home loan taken care of. Get your home squared away, make a home base so that you have the ability to venture out and try something and be brave and take risks and be vulnerable and fail and still fail forward, but make sure your home's taken care of. Those are the 3 things I would recommend to any veteran. And then as far as my business, man, Sherry, I just want to help you grow your business. And if your business grows, so does mine. So maybe I'll shoot you a text a little bit later and we could talk more about that. But we're really just here to help other agents find a way to get a base get a baseline, because the nature of that industry is when you have contracts in escrow, you're all inside the contracts and you're figuring out problems and you're dealing with appraisals and you're dealing with home inspections. And then when you're done and you don't have anything in escrow, you're like, oh crap, I need to find something. And then you're prospecting and you're going out and doing events and you're doing all this stuff. And then it's a roller coaster and you're never happy. You're not happy at the high because you're in your files, and you're not happy at the low because you don't have any files. So our goal at Givft is just to provide that smooth, easy ride through the midsection, helping agents stay human with their past clients. So maybe we can talk about that later, Sherry.
Absolutely. We spin a lot of plates, from, marketing, advertising, to the contracts, arranging the renovations to get it ready, blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on and on. It's easy to get overwhelmed or to not do it. So if you can get other people to spin plates for you, then you focus on the ones that you're really good at, then you're good.
Yeah. That's a very good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah. So at the end, we're going to have a way to reach Corey, but the website is Givft, Givft.com.
Gifting, Givfting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not, yep. No, you're good. I appreciate it.
So look him up and love on your clients through Corey.
Yeah. Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate you having me on today. And thank you for taking care of my clients.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming and for that referral. Heather's such a sweetheart. And
she's awesome.
Yeah, we got word yesterday the appraisal came in above what the contract is at. So we are
beautiful. How often does that happen? Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Good. Yeah, she seemed really happy. She texted me the property. She's asking, what do you think? I'm like, I think you're in good hands. If Sherry likes it, you like it, you're happy.
Yeah, it's a sweet little neighborhood and I think she's gonna be real happy there. So I look forward to meeting her in person, actually.
She'd be a great person to have on your podcast. There's a veteran who never used her VA benefits. She bought a house as a single Army officer. And she bought, I believe we got her in the high sixes, low sevens, and her place is worth, probably $950 now. So she's, just an example of what education can do for you, what your VA benefits can do for you, and what meeting somebody that knows a little bit more than you can do for you. She's a great client. She did very, very well. And I can't wait to see how far she takes it, because she's not stopping. Obviously, she's buying in the next duty station.
Yeah. She's amazing. Anyway, thank you again for coming on today. And we'll look forward to the next time.
Yeah. Talk again soon. Thanks, Sherry.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in. We're excited about helping ease your transition. If you're needing help or answers, please reach out. I would love to find an expert who can answer the questions in a future episode, or I can connect you with someone for more immediate help. We're here to serve you for a change. Don't be shy. My contact information is right here for you to use.